Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting of the Personnel Commission of 2026. Can we have a roll call?
Sure. Chairperson Alpert.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Roeder.
Here.
Commissioner Goldstein.
Present.
Wonderful, thank you very much. We'll start with public comment. This is public comment on anything on our agenda or not on our agenda. If you are here to speak to a specific item on our conference item, so if you're here to speak to a step advanced request, you can do so at that time. You don't have to speak now, but you are, of course, welcome to. So is there any public comment from members of the public in the room? And do we have any public comment from those attending online? If you'd like to give public comment, you can raise your hand electronically. If you try doing it physically, we will not see it. All right, seeing none, we will turn to our agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda, or is there a motion on the agenda?
I'd like to ask for maybe two modifications. One would be if for consent items 7C and D, if we could pull those briefly for
C,
discussion.
Facility Security Officer, and D, Human Resource Specialist,
Right.
confidential. All right.
Right. And then the other is we have many conference items, and generally we have people who come to talk to their items. So I'm wondering if we should move D through M ahead of A through C, just to make a little bit of progress with that.
Certainly, I would do one even. I'll ask if we can go a little bit farther. So I've been discussing it with the executive. No. Yes.
Our secretary?
This is my second time sitting here this month, so now I'm getting a little muddled. But so we've organized the step advance requests into three categories, and we'll discuss this more later on. But the first group are those step advance requests where the person asked for and received the same step, and so we could put those on consent, where there is no, distinction there or discrepancy. So that would also give us a little bit more timeliness.
I'm totally fine with that.
And those would be D through G. So D, E, F, and G are all ones where they asked for a step, and the recommendation from Aaron is to give them that step.
Well, I read these when they came out, and I don't think I'm going to have very many either questions or comments about them, but to put them on consent means that we're not going to talk about them at all, so I have a problem with that.
All right, we'll leave them on there for now, and I think then it's perfectly appropriate for us to move A and B last. If we can keep C there, because it's kind of setting the stage for a conversation about all of them, I think that'd be appropriate.
I'm fine with that. So C through M.
Can I make a comment, though? Someone that was going to speak to item 8A asked for this item to go up in the top because of scheduling conflicts. So
can we'll move B, so we can move B to last.
Okay.
I think that may be the best we can do. Okay, so we're moving B to last, and we're also taking C. Well, we'll take also C and H last, then, in that case, if we're moving them off consent.
C and H.
Of consent items.
Was H the only one? There were two.
I think you said C and D, excuse me. Facility Security Officer and Human Resource Specialist.
to pull.
To pull?
For 7.
Yes.
Right, C and D.
Okay.
Right,
So
yeah.
C and
Okay,
D.
right.
7, C, and D will go last on action, and then as will B from action.
C and D are on consent, right? So we're doing it in order, right?
Oh, I see what you're
Okay.
saying. Yes.
Right, all right.
I was going to suggest we move them to the end after it, but if we want to take them up,
I think it'll be a fairly brief
then that's fine.
discussion.
That's
So
fine.
we would continue on, we do 7 consent items, we'd talk about C and D, then we'd vote on everything in 7, and then for 8, what we're saying is we're going to do A and C through M, and we're going to talk about B last.
Sounds fine to me.
With those changes, so moved.
Okay, I agree.
And I agree as well.
Okay.
Okay, next we'll turn to approval of meeting minutes, both for the November and December meetings. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes?
I did not see any.
No, none.
Is there a motion?
Did Sarah have something? No. Yes, so do you want to do both of them or one at a time?
I'm happy to do both.
Okay, I will move approval of the November 17th and the December 17th minutes.
And I'll second.
And I agree. That brings us to item 6, which is reports. We will start with our reports from unions. I see we've got folks from BCCE present. Is there a report that you all would like to make? And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay. So, hello. I am Mildred Scher. I'm the Vice President for Berkeley Council of Classified Employees. And BCC is using the union report to state clearly that classified employees are deeply alarmed by what is unfolding in Berkeley. An organized effort is now underway to eliminate the Personnel Commission. I also want to acknowledge that I am offering these comments during the union report not only for the commission, but for everyone listening tonight. District leadership, members of the public, and anyone who believes it is acceptable to tamper with the merit system that governs classified employment in Berkeley. These remarks are intentional, and they are on the record, because what is happening now has serious consequences for the rights, protection, and future of classified employees. This is not a minor structural adjustment. This is not a routine policy debate. This is an attempt to dismantle one of the only independent systems of oversight that protects merit, due process, and fairness in public education employment. The Personnel Commission exists for a reason. It exists because BCCE classified employees deserves more than promises. We deserve enforceable protections. It exists because employment decisions should not be driven by politics, convenience, or pressure, but by transparent rules, consistent standards, and lawful process. And it exists because once those safeguards are removed, they are not easily replaced. Berkeley's merit system is not new. This commission has served this district since 1943, one of the oldest and most established merit systems in California. That history matters. For classified employees, eliminating the commission would mean the loss of critical check on power. It would weaken accountability, it would undermine trust, and it would send a clear message that the right and protection of classified staff are negotiable. And I do want to name something that is deeply troubling. This effort to dismantle the Personnel Commission is being driven by individuals who will not be impacted by its elimination. This committee does not work under the merit system. They are not classified employees. They do not work for Berkeley Unified, and they will not live with the consequences of losing due process protection. This system exists for the workers of this district, for the classified employees who serve Berkeley students and schools every day. So it is unacceptable that those with nothing at stake are attempting to strip away the safeguard that classified employees rely on. BCCE employees did not ask for this. We were not consulted, and we will not consent to it. Berkeley is better than this. This effort is not only an attack on classified employees, it is an attack on the values of Berkeley. Claims to stand for fairness, equity, transparency, and public accountability. This effort undermines the very commitment this district speaks about: engagement, equity, enrichment, and excellence. This is not Berkeley proud. And BCCE will defend our merit system because protecting classified due process is essential to the integrity of this district. This is not the politics of another era. This is not a time when working people are expected to remain silent while protections are taken from them. This is Berkeley unified right now. This is Berkeley proud. And Berkeley should be leading with fairness, not dismantling the very structure that ensures it. BCCE understands exactly what is happening, and we want to be equally clear. We will not accept a future where the merit system is dismantled without the consent of the employees who are governed by it. We will not stand by while an institution that has protected fairness for a generation is treated as disposable. And we will fight back hard against any effort to erase the protections that prevent employees from being removed just like that. Tonight we are asking the Commission to do what it was created to do. Stand firm, speak plainly, defend the merit system, and assure that classified employees are not left vulnerable to arbitrary decision-making. Because the question before Berkeley is not whether this commission is convenient, the question is whether Berkeley still believes in fairness, due process, and independent oversight, or whether those principles are now up for a vote. Classified employees are already facing layoffs and uncertainty, and that is exactly why these protections matter now more than ever. We are not here tonight simply to express concern. We are here to draw a line that the merit system will be defended. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that comment, and I'm sure myself and other commissioners will have things to say about that when we get to our commissioner comment. Do we have any other unions seeking to give public comment? In that case,
We do have a hand raised by Samantha,
and that's for the district, correct?
I believe.
Yeah, so next up is district reports, so if Samantha is speaking for the district, go ahead.
Hello, thank you. And I want to thank Mildred for her passionate speech, and that we, as a district, agree that we need to make sure that we're protecting our classified staff. In terms of the report that I want to make tonight, I wanted to share that on Monday this week, BCCE joined the district as well as members from representatives from other unions in a professional development called the Labor Management Institute, where we discussed enhancing our communication and relationships to better work on issues outside of like labor negotiations and outside of dealing with just straight budget issues, but in general issues and resolving things and improving things in Berkeley. And I want to make sure that the Personnel Commission is aware that we attended that and it went very well. I also wanted to share that at the last board meeting, the district, following up on our commitment to continue to get rid of contractors, created another 31.6 FTE in special ed, in IA special ed 2 positions, or 37 individual positions. The FTE doesn't match the number of positions because there are almost every single one is less than 1.0, with the exception of a group at the high school. This again is to match so that we have the same number of vacancies as we have contractors, so that we have the ability to then work with the Personnel Commission to fill those vacancies and get rid of the contractors. That is our goal, and we are continuing to move towards that. Thank you.
Thank you to the district both for the work on improving communication with our labor partners and on ending our use of contractors. We'll turn, are there any other district folks with their hands? No. Then we'll turn to commissioner reports. So, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's see, a couple of things. One is a couple of congratulations. First, to our new chairperson, Mr. Alpert. Look forward to your year with the gavel that we saw earlier. And I know you'll be handling our meetings with great aplomb. Number one. Number two, it's a little late in the month of January, but welcome back to everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you had a wonderful winter break. Number three, congratulations to Brian Westover as our new personnel analyst. And I know you also will be handling your new position and responsibilities very, very well. So congratulations on that. Next is the fact that I attended, along with Frank Hernandez and Aaron and Sarah and Brian, the first meeting of the SPED IA committee. And I just want to report that I think that went exceptionally well. It was very well attended. I think all of the SPED supervisors were present. It was very, very well managed by Aaron, and we're going to be having another meeting next week to continue the process, and my goal is that we actually have sort of action items that will come out of these meetings, which will improve the entire process of SPED IA recruitment and retention. Let's see. And I guess lastly, I too want to add my appreciation to Mildred Scher for her comments about the Personnel Commission. I think all of us on this dais and everyone else involved in the Personnel Commission very much desires to do everything we possibly can to further the benefit that we provide to the classified employees. I think we all recognize that that is our role. I think that role is perfectly consistent with the district's desires in having a classified staff that can do its jobs equitably and fairly in every respect. So I totally agree with that, and I don't think we can talk about this too much because it's not on the agenda, but anything, I believe what I know about the committee that's spearheading this, I believe they are misguided, number one, but I think they're also misinformed. I don't think they really understand what the work of the Personnel Commission even is. And I don't think they understand the reforms that have taken place over the last few years. I think they may be stuck in a period of time where the commission was a different place. At any rate, I for one invite whether it's BCC or anyone else to contact me and to let me know how I can be of assistance in fighting. I think my understanding is that they're not thinking about putting this on the ballot until March of 2028. So there's a long time between now and then, perhaps even to change some minds. Anyway, get off my soapbox.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Commissioner Roeder has so eloquently covered so much of what I wanted to say also. So the part I'll reiterate is actually thanking BCC and Mildred in particular for the comments at the last school board meeting as well as here today. It's ironic to me that Berkeley, which is a bastion against so much of the federal dismantling of civil protections, is seeing this here. And it's perplexing to me that the committee that is doing it are actually people who have served Berkeley in the past in a position as a school board leader and as the president of BFT. Misguided at best. I have to say I'm totally mystified. We stand firm with you. Thank you.
I have just a couple updates. One is I wanted to turn folks' attention to a bill that was recently introduced in the state legislature, AB 1627, which was introduced by Assemblymember Avila Farias, which would prohibit the employment of those who currently work for ICE from being employed in California schools or as law enforcement in California. And this is actually something that I've been talking with some folks about approaching at the local level as well. And so wearing different hats, both as a rent board, with the rent board and here at the commission, I'm starting conversations with some folks at the city council and the school board about what we can do to make sure that folks who are currently, abusing and victimizing people across the country don't end up coming and working with our families in Berkeley. So that'll be something that I don't know if we necessarily will take action on, but I certainly hope the school board will look at supporting and working on. And then I think to the point that other folks have spoken on, I won't speak at length. I think that there are disagreements at times between those of us on the commission and between the commission and the union. I do not think there's any daylight between our positions here on what's being proposed for the commission. Mildred, in your comments, you, as you should, focused on the impacts that this would have on the union workers and the rights of union workers. But I don't think it's just eliminating the commission will not be bad just for union workers. It will be bad for the district. Because the same rights that ensure that union workers are treated fairly, that people are hired based on merit and not based on favoritism or racism or nepotism, those same rules are the rules that ensure we get the best employees. That the rules and the job of the commission and the rules that we enforce protect workers and benefit the district and the students of the district and the children of the district, and they benefit the taxpayers of Berkeley whose money is being spent. I don't want to, there's a lot I could say, but I think just two things. One, I'm always disappointed when people send out communication as though they're telling someone something for the first time only after they've been caught. I think it's a bad look. But that aside, one of the arguments that's being posited is that this will save the district money, and that the money that we save by eliminating the commission could go towards the salaries of BCC employees. And I just cannot emphasize how insulting that argument is. Not only because it's not a promise that anyone who's working on this ballot measure can make. They cannot promise what so-called savings would be spent on. But also, it's just not true. I mean, it reminds me, I'm a political nerd, so it reminds me of Brexit. I don't know if folks are familiar. When the debate around the UK leaving the EU was happening, they said, we'll save billions of pounds a day, and all of that money will go towards the NHS. And it cost them money, it didn't save them any money. And the exact same thing will happen here, right? It will cost money to move all of the work that's being done by the commission into HR and to replace all the functions that the commission does, and there will be no savings. And there's lots more to discuss. I won't beat a dead horse, but I guess I hope it's a dead horse. But I look forward to working with all of you to make sure that we protect merit in BUSD. So that being said, I will turn over to our personnel director for her report.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. It's nice seeing a public after all this time in person. So I'll start with a brief overview of the personnel activity report for December. So as we see this last month, despite our 2-week winter recess, the PC team stayed super busy. During this time, we established 11 new eligibility lists to help fill all those district vacancies and limited term assignments. And then as we see on page 15, the commission administered 173 exams. And we averaged about 12 exams per day. And then also with the support of our HR colleagues, we processed 14 new hires. So most of those new hires were in the IA2 class. And then, as Izzy mentioned, we did hold our first special ed staffing and recruitment subcommittee meeting. We did have very strong participation from the SPED department, from HR, and BCCE. The group discussed recent improvements related to IA staffing, and then we also reviewed the SPED staffing report. So to prepare for our second meeting, the subcommittee members were asked to reflect on ongoing challenges and barriers related to IA2 SPED staffing. Also, in response, my staff and I sent out a survey to help guide that discussion, and so we're going to use that feedback that we received to identify those themes and then prioritize the issues and then inform the committee on our next steps. So going forward, the IA staffing report will be a standing item for that subcommittee so that we can use it to regularly check in with the special ed staff. And then copies of that report are also being shared at tonight's meeting and will be included in the packet after the meeting that we post online. So just as a summary, I don't know if we have copies of it. Oh, no, okay, that's okay. So we did update the report right before the meeting, and we will provide those copies after the meeting, but just as a summary, we did hire 18 new IAs, and then we currently have 10 individuals that are onboarding and 2 separations. We also identified 44 contractors currently in use and 11 vacancies. So that means that contractors are filling positions that have not yet been fully established. But the good news
Even
is...
after the action we just heard about from the district?
Well, I was going to...
Okay.
Yeah. So the good news is that, yes, on January 21st, at the board meeting, as Sam mentioned, 37 new positions were approved. And so HR is in the process of generating those position numbers. And so the next time when you do see that special ed report, you'll see a lot of new vacant positions. But you're going to see a decrease in contractors that are filling unassigned positions. So we should probably see contractors only filling assigned positions or vacancies, basically. So this will also allow our team to focus more heavily on filling those vacancies over the next couple of months and to continuing strengthening our recruitment efforts. And so that's one of the things that we look forward to continuing our work and sharing those updates with that SPED staffing and recruitment subcommittee. So I'll be providing a report at all of our PC meetings as I have in the past. So, and I wanted to keep this update short. I do want to thank Mildred for, on behalf of BCCE, for supporting the merit system. I have a lot of feelings and thoughts about what's going on, but I will reserve my comments for a different meeting. So, but thank you for saying something that I couldn't have said better myself. So that concludes my report today.
Thank you very much. Please, question.
One question, Aaron. Do you know, since the beginning of this school year, how many SPED IA contractors have been eliminated, all told?
Since the beginning of the school year. I know it's on that report.
Well, you can pick a different date, but...
Yes. If I can pull up the... I do have like a summary of the last, but I might have to do some math as I pull it up. You can give me 1 second. I don't have it up by any chance, do you? The SPED staffing. Sorry. That's true. You know, Izzy, it might take a little while would have to count back the last couple months to find that specific number, but we can definitely bring that that number forward at our next meeting.
Yeah, if you would provide that number to us, that would be appreciated. And, I would feel, to me, that's a very important number. Each one of those, on average, is $27,000 a year, as well as we've said, providing much better service to the special education community and students, and also being BUSD employees with all of the benefits and camaraderie and collegiality that being an employee of BUSD as opposed to a contractor provides. So I would hope that and as part of your reports in the future, you could include that kind of as a running update to, basically, how are we doing on the elimination of contractors?
And just so I'm clear, that $27,000 number, that's a per head count savings in labor expense, right?
Yes.
Savings.
Yes, it's
Okay,
a
thank you.
savings, and it's basically all in. It's salary and benefits on average.
Great. Any other questions for any of the reports? All right. In that case, we will turn to our, oh, yes, please. Go ahead, Samantha.
I just wanted to add that it is a moving target. And so it's not as easy as just a subtraction problem in terms of the removal of contractors, because we do have students who get new services added or new students who move into the district. So I will support whatever I can to help make sure that we get that data point for you. But I do want to remind everybody that it is a moving target. It isn't a static number.
Thank you. A point well taken. All right. In that case, we'll turn to item 7, which is our consent calendar. We had 2 items requested for poll. Those are items C and D. So we'll start with C, which is Facilities Security Officer on page 18. And I'll turn it over to Heidi.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe I can address both of them. I'm simply asking about these because they had much longer than usual intervals for testing. And as is my practice, I just always like to understand what happened with this, what was unique with this, that particularly for the facility security officer position, which had all the ranks it should, but just barely. Was there a problem with that, or what was the story?
Yeah, so when I checked in with staff, it seems like the first exam had to be outsourced for scoring, as did the second exam. We had to assemble a panel because it fell before Thanksgiving break. And then we also got a request for a medical reasonable accommodation that ended up delaying our process. It took an unusually long time.
All right, thank you. So part of this was accommodating that medical
Yes.
request? Okay, thank you. And how about the human resources specialist? That was about a month delay, and normally, that's, double normally
Yeah, that
what
also
the interval is.
took place between winter break. And so because our panel, we were looking at panelists from outside agencies as well as internal, but with people being out for winter break, the 2 weeks, it was just hard to assemble that panel.
Okay, that makes sense. That's what I thought it might be, but was just curious. And if I can just commend everybody on the rest, it was your normal super speedy turnaround. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? In that case, is there a motion on the full consent calendar?
I motion to approve 7A through G, or I'm sorry, 7A through L on consent. Actually, yeah, A through L.
Yeah, I second that.
And I agree. So the consent calendar is adopted. Did you have a comment on the consent items or on the?
Maybe I didn't hear correctly. Are you okay? Did you just okay A through L, or are you moving?
We could okayed the consent calendar.
We want to discuss A. Is that okay?
The administrative assistant list?
Which one? Oh, you're in the,
Wrong.
we're on.
You're getting ahead of us. We're all good. We're all good. No, we know. So we'll now turn to item 8, which is our conference items, and we'll start with item A, which is a request to update the minimum qualifications for school bus drivers. And I know that there are we have someone from the district to talk to that, and also from the union who has some comments. And I'll first turn it over to our director to address the item.
Yes, so
That's on page 29.
We received this request for the school bus driver update to the minimum qualifications because essentially the Transportation Department requested the revision after they identified that the applicants that were screening in and the applicants that were on the eligibility list were not able to, not all of them were able to operate large school buses because of restrictions on their school bus driver certificates. And so I checked in with the transportation supervisor who submitted the agenda item request, and so it was requested to update the language to include transit qualified, which pretty much means that the restrictions for the large school bus, or that basically the candidate has qualified to operate large school buses. And so I believe that person is here, and since she submitted the request, I'd like to turn to her to speak to it.
Yes, so like Aaron had said, we had 2 applicants that were on the approval to be hired, and when I was looking at their certificates, I noticed they had the restrictions 4, which basically states that when they went to take their CHP test, they took a conventional vehicle, which means the engine is in the front, and Berkeley Unified does not have those buses. We do have one. It's a bus number 38. It's a wheelchair bus. That is the only one we have. So that those drivers would not be able to drive any of our transit vehicles. And so they would not be beneficial to hiring because they wouldn't be able to drive anything but our little buses. So this is the first time we've ever seen this happen, where we had drivers that tested in conventional buses but limited them, and they are not allowed to drive a transit vehicle. So to eliminate that, if we did put the transit qualified on the job application or the job description, then it'd be easier screening and we wouldn't be wasting people's times when they apply. I don't know why I keep doing that.
No worries. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And if you'll stay on with us, because I think we have a few questions. And
Sure, absolutely.
We had a comment from BCCE, or a comment and questions from BCCE, so I'll turn over to them next.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for all the comments. Milky Sherry, she just left, but her comments, appreciate it. On behalf of BCCE, we're opposed to changing or adding this to the job description. For one is, I can't find a definition to the language that's being added. So I think it opens up the door to screen in, I wouldn't say screen, but for the Transportation Department to screen out individuals. I'm not sure what that language means. My understanding is it doesn't apply to bus drivers, buses, school bus. And then the other thing is everything's in that job description that does, that they do need to have, and that's the bus drivers. And the big thing is air brakes. So they need to be air brakes qualified to drive the big buses. And I'm not sure if that's the issue here, but I can't find a definition. So I don't know what that definition is. And then the other thing is, like, we're in the middle of class and comp. We're going over these job descriptions. And, one of the, I don't want to say issues, but, when you do the class and comp and you go over job descriptions, you have several different parties trying to add and delete things. This feels like they're going around the class and comp. I mean, we still have the right to negotiate through class and comp. I don't know why this would be put on an agenda item and discussed just from the, a manager or supervisor in that department. Why isn't this being negotiated? Because it does affect, when you bring in people, how they're going to be screened. And I just don't think adding another layer is helpful. Everything that they need to have to be a bus driver is already in there. You don't need to add another piece. So that's my concern. There's no definition.
Oh, one thing I do want to add also is that, I'm sorry, Steve, were you going to talk next? Oh, no.
I don't have to.
No, I just wanted to say, I am handing out copies of sample certificates that I received from Amanda Spino to share with you all. And so that essentially shows what the certificate looks like. And she clarified that on that certificate, if you look under the restriction section, when there is no number 4 listed, that means that the driver is authorized to operate large buses. And so there's a sample of one of our candidates, actually we redacted it, but that has that 4 there. And so that means that the candidate cannot drive a large bus. And so then we also have another sample of someone who doesn't have that 4, and so they would qualify. So that's what kind of they look at, Transportation Department, when they're determining whether that person can operate a large bus.
So if I can try and synthesize a few different things here. We're talking about air brakes, we're talking about this 4 qualification, and then the transit qualification is the language that was being added,
Right.
or proposed to be added. So the person who, the redacted person here who we're looking at who had that 146 restriction, were they air brake certified?
Yes.
And were they, I guess, where is the
I
transit?
can kind of make it a little simpler if
Yes,
that helps.
go
So
ahead.
when you go to CHP and you take your drive test, depending on the vehicle that you take, that is what you're going to be qualified in. So what happened in this situation when people have a 1, 4, and a 6, the 1 is basically automatic transmission. The 4 limits them to a conventional or a type 2 only. And then the 6 means that they basically either they took their first aid class outside of the CHP. So what happens is if you go to CHP and you're in a conventional and you take your test, that's what you're limited to. So you can only drive a conventional, which means the engine is in the front and everything below that. If you go, we're here at Berkeley, we test everybody in a transit, which is what we have at our facility. That means you can drive everything from a transit and everything that's out there. So what's happening is a lot of companies are limiting their drivers on what they're certified in so that they don't leave, or that's the only equipment they have there, and that's what they send them to CHP with. So basically, like Frank was saying, the job description was perfect. We had no issues with it because it said air brakes. But air brakes can be either a conventional or a transit. So this is the first time we've seen this, and we have these 2 applicants that are on the list, but we can't hire them because they can't drive our buses in our yard. And I think that would be a problem to hire 2 people that can't do the job that they're hired to do. So that's why we brought this to you guys. So
Let me ask a question for the union.
Sure.
And appreciating the process. I mean, you brought up a concern around the process with the class and comp study, and that's a separate question. But in terms of the issue we're talking about here, if we were, instead of having the language be and transit qualification, if it was more precise about that 4, that they were certified to use buses, or that they didn't have a type 4 restriction, would that be more in line with what you all?
yeah, basically the restrictions
Well, hold on. I'm asking the union, just because I want to make sure.
I'm sorry.
I know you're okay with it, but I want to ask. No worries.
Hi, I'm Steve Theisler. I work in the transportation department. I am a school bus driver, and I do have a restriction. So I'm only able to drive hydraulic, not air brakes. And some of you are already familiar with that, which is fine. As we understand it, the Type D bus is a transit bus. It's designated by the number of passengers it can carry. A true transit carries over 90 passengers. We do not currently have that capability in our arsenal of buses, which is fine. Type C, Amanda's correct, we don't carry that. The term transit qualified almost opens up the door for AC transit drivers and the like, which hold no certificate. We, as bus drivers, hold the highest standard of bus driving. We supersede AC transit. To change our language to meet two qualifications makes absolutely no sense.
Then let me ask this, if it is, instead of saying and transit, so right now, the current language is valid and current California Class A or B commercial driver's license with appropriate passenger, school bus, and air brake endorsement, right?
Right.
And the original proposal was to add and transit qualification. If we replaced and transit qualification instead with appropriate passenger, school bus, and air brake endorsement, and not a Class 4 restriction,
I don't think that's, but see, what I'm understanding is what they're saying, that they think it will open the door for transit, but it wouldn't, because a transit driver doesn't have a school bus certificate, and that's clearly stated in the job description. You have to have a school bus certificate, you have to have a medical, you have to have you have to have everything. So that's not going to open it up to transit drivers. All it's opening up to is allowing drivers that have been restricted to conventionals and small buses only, because there is the restriction in there that they have to be air brakes. So that limits them, that they have to have air brakes. But what we didn't take into consideration was that conventionals also have air brakes, and we at Berkeley don't have conventionals.
Right.
So we have to find a way, we can work together to figure out a way to word it. I have not a problem with that, but I don't want people sitting on the list to hire and we can't hire them. And basically what happens is we can't move them off because they, you have to wait, they did the process. So it shows that they're able to work, but in essence, they're really not, because they can't drive anything in our yard.
I understand. What I'm trying to do now is see if we can find language that everyone is accepting
Yeah,
for.
perfect.
Yeah. And go ahead, Heidi. Commissioner Colton.
So I am wondering if this is sort of similar to a different issue that we had, sort of related, which is we have swimming pools, and people who take care of swimming pools need certain certifications. And sometimes they come to us with that certification, but sometimes they don't come to us with that certification, and there are not a whole lot of them. So the discussion last time was, if we had someone who, generally speaking, could do this work, but didn't have a particular certification, would the district pay for the cert, for the other thing that needed to be certified? And I know the district isn't keen on paying for certifications. I also know it's not easy to hire bus drivers. So I am wondering if this is that problem.
That's a great question.
And we're not necessarily opposed, we're not necessarily opposed to it. We just want more clarification as to what you're asking for and how does it supersede or enhance the verbiage we already have.
Certainly.
That's it. We don't want to stop it, but we want to open up a more dialogue rather than just done.
For sure.
So my question is, what exactly is the type 4 restriction? The number 4 restriction? I think I heard the word limited to conventional. I think I heard that word, and then there might have been another word that I didn't catch. So I just want to know what is, in terms of narrative, what is a number 4 restriction?
It's a conventional restriction. So basically, it's like if you go to DMV and you want to get a motorcycle license, you have to drive a motorcycle to get that restriction, to get that on your license. If you don't, you get a restriction where you can't drive it. It's the same concept. Basically, the 4 means that they can only drive a conventional or a type 2 bus. And if you want, Erin, I also sent her the back of the certificate, tells you what the restrictions are, so you can see them as well.
Another question.
And I also
You mentioned-
provided copies of the different types of buses.
Thank you.
She mentioned type 2 bus. What I'm seeing here is type A, B, C, D. Is that type B?
I'm not sure, what are they looking at, Aaron?
Yeah. Types of school buses do image.
Oh, okay, the
Imogen.
ones, yes. Okay, so when looking at that form, the type 1A, that's the small bus, that's the type 2 hydraulics. And then the type B is another type 2 hydraulics, but it's electric, that's why it's green. And then you have your type C, that is a conventional. That is the bus that they're testing in that's holding their restriction. So all they can drive is C, B, and A. Here at Berkeley, we don't have C. We have D. So that's where we're at. We need them not to have that restriction 4 on their certificate. So when they test with type D, and they can drive everything below that. So if we need to change the verbiage or what's best to do moving forward, that's great.
So I am wondering, and I guess this is a question for our union colleagues, if the language, instead of being transit qualification, is more in line with and not limited to conventional or type A, B, and C, I guess, buses, would that be sort of sufficiently clear in the job description? Basically, the idea being, as I understand it, that the certificate should not have a type 4 restriction on it. And not that it opened it up to, it affirmatively has a transit qualification, but rather sort of saying it in the negative, that it doesn't have a restriction for conventional or types, and I apologize for not being an expert on school buses, types A, B, and C.
Well, so type A, B, and C are all conventional. And then type D is not conventional, which, is there a word for that?
Transit, they call it transit.
Transit qualified.
So that's why the transit qualification.
It's basically saying the same thing. If you say you can't have a 4, basically you're saying the same thing, transit qualified. That's the terminology for transportation.
Well, then what if it read this: valid and current California Class A or B commercial driver's license with appropriate passenger school bus and air brake endorsement for both transit and traditional. What was the transit and conventional buses?
No, because we don't have conventional. That's the 4.
So 4 transit buses.
Yeah.
Would
So
that?
that's why it says transit. I mean, if you don't want to use transit qualified, but transit is basically what you guys are saying in a nutshell is transit qualified.
I understand. So would that, for transit buses, would that be better for?
Whatever works for them.
That's what I'm asking.
What do you think? I don't think we need to decide. Are we trying to decide today, or are we going to just?
I mean, if we want to continue it.
I would like to decide, because we do have a vacancy that we're trying to fill, and we have a list with people that can't be hired right now because of this scenario, the situation.
So what does that mean?
That means it's holding up hiring a
I
vacancy.
know, but what does that mean? Does that mean if we add this, then now all of a sudden we can hire them?
No.
If we add this, we can remove the other people from the list.
Can
Because they would no longer
So you have
eligible.
a list of qualified, but they need to be
Well,
disqualified.
the top
based on-
3, there are 2 in the
based on
top
that.
3 that have,
I
that
don't
have
think we'd
this
be
restriction.
opposed to putting remove the qualification of 4, but I just don't like the word transit. It just seems to be opening up too many other doors when you look at it on a job interview or job perspective.
So just for clarity too, Steve, I understand what you're saying, but we do have, in our application, we have supplemental questions for those candidates where they can see what else is required. So we list out all of these other certifications that they need. So any AC transit person will be required to indicate whether they do have the air brakes, so it does
The word
kind of help.
transit is what we're really uncomfortable with. We could just say, and without a type 4 restriction.
Yes.
But we also want to make it clear to the candidate
simple.
if that's what, a term that they're very familiar with, and that defines what we're looking for, because we also have to screen these.
Right.
And so we want to make it clear to them. We could add it as a supplemental question, but again, if it's not in, that's what I was explaining to Amanda, if it's not in here, we can't screen folks out.
Right. So then for the purpose of screening, I would say, let's just say, without a type 4 restriction. And then in terms of the materials we produce, we can get into more unexplanatory of, you need to be able to drive a transit-style bus.
Correct.
But we're not putting the word transit in the,
So
Put it-
without
Put it
type
in your
4.
supplemental.
So Amanda, is without type 4, does that make it clear?
without a type 4 restriction.
That's not the terminology that's used in the industry, so I don't know if it's going to be confusing because a lot of people don't use that. It's just not norm, but I mean, what'll happen is you're still going to get people that are going to apply even if they have the 4 because they're not going to see the transit part of it qualified. So we'll still have to wean out, but like you said, if you're going to put those supplementary questions, then hopefully that'll eliminate it. But can you eliminate those drivers already with that job description that they're suggesting?
If we add the without type 4 restriction, yes, we can.
Then let's do it.
Okay. I'll turn to, comments from,
I just want to make sure we're using terms of art to the degree that CHP uses them. So things like Class A and Class B are terms of art. If you ask CHP, what's a Class A? They have a definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're still a little spongy here on using term of art words, and I don't know what the right term of art words are. Does anybody else? Because I think that's what we should be using here. In the same way Class A and Class B describe some very specific qualifications, there must be something at CHP that describes this.
Transit qualified, that's what they use. And that's why I've been in this industry for over 20 years.
Is there a place we can find that in CHP regs or documents that, that we can look at it and understand that it's really clearly defining what we're talking about here?
I don't know, because it just basically will say the restrictions. And if you're looking at the restrictions on here, it tells you that's what it's based off of, the restrictions that are on the certificate. But I can check in, but I don't think there's anything specific. If you're looking for something in writing that says, a blanket like Class A, Class B, Class C, there's nothing like that. No, it's just the terminology we use when you're restricted in the industry.
Is there, Amanda, sorry, this is Samantha Tobias,
Samantha.
Espinoza.
go ahead.
Amanda, is there a document from the CHP that defines what Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D are, or that defines what transit means at all?
I'm sure there is.
While you guys are looking for that, I'm going to turn it to Commissioner, were you done? I'm done. Yeah, Commissioner Roeder, and then,
Well, I sort of think, listening to the union's comments, that the problem is that it's being set forth in the affirmative, that it's saying you have to have a transit qualification, and that the union's concern
What is
is,
it?
and I share that concern, that it's too broad. So if you say it in the negative, in other words, basically the way that Chairperson Alpert has said it, that there is no number 4 restriction, if that's understood by everybody, then I think that's fine. I'll be done in 1 second.
Yeah.
If a type 4 or a number 4 restriction is a conventional restriction, then it could be said in words. It could be said, and does not contain a restriction limited to conventional vehicles. If that's synonymous with type 4. With number 4.
I think what I want to clarify is that we also need the school bus certificate. So the word transit doesn't open up very much because
Right,
they
right.
also are required already to have the school bus certificate.
so
And
just,
so I don't actually understand the concern because it doesn't really truly open up anything beyond that piece in terms of the qualifications. Because my understanding is the school bus certificate, you could have C or D, and if you don't have the school bus certificate, then you aren't driving a school bus no matter what.
I understand all of the concerns from everyone. I want to just kind of emphasize, so the reason that we're doing this today is because we want to start hiring people. And so I think that there's a question of getting language in there now, which allows us to do that. And then there's a process already going on, I understand, of the class and comp study, where if we want to get more precise language later, then we can do that. But I think for the purposes of, I think it sounds like everyone's comfortable with and without a class 4 restriction, and that accomplishes what we want, and then we can get, if we want to get more precise language at a later date, we can always amend it. Cool.
So moved.
sounds like we're in agreement. I will second that, actually.
Okay, I agree.
Okay, great. So, yes, thank you all, and thank you for the district for your patience with us folks who do not live and breathe this as you do. So the language will be, and without a class 4, or without a type 4 restriction. And without a type 4 restriction. All right, so that is our item A. And next we're going to skip over item B for now. We're going to turn to item C, which is discussion of process for STEP advance requests and advanced STEP rubric. And I'll turn it over first to Director Aaron, and then I have some comments as well.
Okay, so this item is presented for discussion and then also possible action regarding the STEP advance request process and then the rubric. We want to continue to improve meeting efficiency and consistency, so I'm bringing forward the STEP advance rubric that we previously approved as a baseline for evaluating those STEP advances. I think there's a few areas of clarification that we need to discuss, so maybe we could do that first, and then later we also want to discuss how we bring forward the STEP advance requests if we're going to change or update that. So as far as the rubric clarification, do you all have a copy of that? It should be in the agenda.
I'm looking at the packet. There's no track changes. This is just a current one, and we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's just the current one.
Yes.
So I think one of the issues related to whether internships or volunteer experience should be considered towards years of experience. And then also how we look at relevant experience. And so I just wanted to get the commissioners' opinions on those matters so that we can maybe get a little more specific in our rubric about that.
Does anyone want to go first? Go ahead.
I'm happy to start. And I think a lot of my comments come from maybe how the private sector hires. So the balance between wanting to give credit, some amount of credit for relative experience, and I'll say, and responsibility, and longevity, are sort of the three axes that we look at here. So it's why it's hard to give credit to someone for part-time work, right? It's hard to give credit to someone for work that is heavily supervised as an internship, should be, isn't always. Because what you are hiring for is someone who really has some runtime doing the work under conditions of supervision that match how it's going to be at your institution, right? And, everybody has a supervisor, but the question that sits in my head is a supervisor is different than someone who is supervising an intern. An intern typically isn't paid, isn't considered professional class in what the thing is, and there's a reason, they're learning, they're going to make mistakes. You need to watch them more closely because that's just the nature of the work. So these are all things that are hard to know when we get these packets in from people requesting STEP requests. They require some amount of diligence just to, figure out was it really full-time work? It looks like it was an after-school program. Was this 2 hours a day, or was this, 6 or 8 hours a day, something comparable? So there are just some heuristics that I think we're going to have to use, or you are going to spend a tremendous amount of time calling people, trying to understand, 2 hours or 6, what kind of supervision, et cetera, et cetera. So, these are the issues that we face looking at these things. The easiest path, of course, is to look at representations of positions that are regular full-time positions, because we know they tend to be more of a direct match. If we are going to give credit for adjacent experiences and for the SPED 2s, this seems to be an ongoing question. If I did elder care on a volunteer basis for 4 years, how much credit should I get? And I've just got to tell you, the answer is I look at something like that and I think I have no idea. I've got kids with special needs that may or may not match to elders. I'm glad you have this, but I really don't know what kind of credit I can give you for it, because it doesn't map directly enough for me to understand how to give credit for it. So I'm stingy on this, is what I'll say.
I just wanted to say, interns are supposed to be paid, I believe, under California law. And for me, that is one of the things where I think I would draw a distinction, right, is that I don't think that we can give it for volunteer work. And then I think it does matter for internships whether it's paid or unpaid, right? And I think that there's some very highly, in different industries, the word intern can mean very different things. I mean, obviously, like in medical settings, that's
I think it's not so much the paid criteria as the supervised criteria.
Certainly. And one, the kind of work you're doing, right? I mean, are you kind of just learning? Is it more an educational internship, or is it an internship where you're really doing work that is? And so, I think that unfortunately the answer is it depends, as you've said. And so it just means it's work that we need to do to evaluate it. And so sometimes, we just have to look at it and make a judgment call. But
So the question is, who's the we, and how deep is the look? Okay,
very true.
Because we've got items now, I see the pattern, right? We know that this is a position where we need to pay more competitively to draw the talent that we want to draw. And I would say, just based on the past several months, what I see is that our talent understands that there is a process for getting their background looked at, and we're getting a better quality pool of people to do this work, which I'm glad for. It costs money.
Yeah.
But, if the whole point of this is, really superior student support for special needs, then this is the right thing to do. So who's the we and how deep do we go? Are the pertinent questions. And I'm going to leave it to our secretary, our executive director, to tell us really what is feasible, because when you've got 15 requests, I see it itching up. First it was 5, and then it was 7. We're up to 15, at each meeting. And until we get this particular job class straight, and it might take us the rest of the school year to get this job class straight, we're going to have this question.
Well, I think I agree with Chairperson Alpert if part of what you were saying is that each person really does have to be looked at based on that person's qualifications and experience. And so recognizing, yes, the amount of work that is going to go into it, and there is going to be additional work because of this, I think that it's incumbent on Erin in the first instance, and to anyone else that she may wish to delegate any of these responsibilities to. Yes, indeed. And that each person does need to be looked at individually. And I guess I am not, I don't think, as stingy using Commissioner Goldstein's word, that I think that a step advance for someone who has demonstrated work, and I agree with all of you that volunteer work is problematic, but has been employed in a position of, for SPED IAs, for example, of responsibility in which they've been required to deal with organized groups of students in a serious manner that have potentially special education types of issues, that's probably sufficient. In a particular case, will it be sufficient or won't it be sufficient? Unfortunately, I think that is a matter of looking into it and understanding what that person's experience was, how much time they spent on it, et cetera, and then the commission will have to look at it and make a determination. The language here that already exists, one step for every year of directly related experience, I personally, I think that that's pretty good. I'm not sure how much more specific we can be. And then, it's going to be debatable whether it's directly related or not. That's unfortunately the nature of things, I think.
I agree. I mean, that's why we have a commission, right? It's because the staff make a determination and then we get to evaluate it and see if it, and then we make an evaluation around what directly related means. I don't know if now we want to talk about, because it sounds like we're fairly happy with the language as is.
Yes, and I think the only clarification I'd like to add to this rubric is how we feel about, and I'm hearing that the volunteer is not,
I don't think we can.
We're not going to count that. And then the internships, and how we feel about that as well, because I do think that for certain entry-level positions, an internship, even if it's supervised, it's appropriate because as they go into these positions, they're being supervised. They're always working with
I guess I could suggest
certificated staff.
We could say one step for every year of directly related paid experience, and then we could evaluate. Yeah.
I guess I certainly agree volunteer, is nice, but doesn't count as direct experience. I'd like us to be a little clearer about part-time experience and how we credit it. Is 1 year of part-time experience worth a 0.5? I don't know. I don't know how you're doing it. And
and that's the thing too, I'm limited to the information that I receive from candidates, and so it's not very clear in their resumes or in their materials and the documents that they submitted whether they were working on a part-time basis. And so obviously that's something we can request. We can definitely, when we submit or when we receive the request, we can ask them to be more specific. I think for example, if it's a part-time job, like an IT, I think it would be fine to count 1 year of part-time work towards the step advance.
Yes,
like for
right.
like.
I think that's reasonable.
Exactly.
But, I think, I guess this brings up another question, which is our IA positions are certainly not 1.0 FTE, right? But if some of them are for most of a school day, I don't know if those are 0.6 FTE or what we consider those?
So most of them are 0.8, and so for just classifying purposes, we call them full-time.
Correct.
Right. And so there's a few that are less than that, but there's very few, and most of them are because they're in the the preschools where we have a 0.6. We usually don't go lower than that at all. So the majority of our positions are 0.8 or 1.0s.
So we'd be comparing against a standard of pretty much full-time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what I hear you describing suggests to me that there's going to be some extra inquiry here. Someone's going to submit a package, they're going to have something that isn't clear. You're going to have to go back and forth on their representation. How many hours per day did you work at this job, to understand how to.
Yeah, we can ask that up front as part of the, the submission process so that we don't have
So
to.
that you're clarifying.
Right.
The internships, I'll just say, paid, I don't think paid is the right criteria. I mean, you're right, in California, it's supposed to be paid. There's still plenty of wage theft. It's not always a good criteria. It really is a degree of supervision, and I think sometimes it's hard for the intern to understand what the degree of supervision is. And I would caution this group, if we're going to accept internships, I would take it at 50%. I would discount it some. Okay, because there's just no good way to know. But what we do know is if it's an internship, it should be supervised more closely.
Did you have a comment, Frank?
It's not really about the rubric. I think I said this before. Just everybody put everybody at step 5. All right. No, seriously, I know it sounds funny, and I agree. But I've been here so many times, and I've seen it where you denied people, and there's been people who've been denied because they've been here 7 months, it says 6 months, and they didn't know. And it just creates, it's not good. It creates a lot of havoc, mixed feelings. People are, say, I didn't know, and I wish I knew, and all this. Retention. So if you're getting 50% of the people to step 5 and the other 50 don't know, what's the retention going to be? So we're losing people because this position has been hard to fill for at least 6 years that I know of. So I don't know if the PC could do this. I think they can, it's in their purview. I know some people would probably be up in arms if he did, but put everybody on step 5, everybody who's came, every sped to step 5. That would help in recruit until you get to a certain point where you guys talk about and say, okay, we don't need to do this anymore. We got enough people coming in. But, we're getting there. But you're going to have problems with retention, especially with the people who aren't coming here and getting their step 5 or step 3, step 4, whatever they're asking for. So it's a little side thing, but thank you.
I know, we've talked about this with Frank before, and there have been occasions where we have set the step where a candidate starts, like at a higher step. The only issue with that now is that we now have to consider those that have been hired and haven't gotten a step advance. And so I think that's going to now fall on the union to discuss with the district and what to do with all of those
I
employees.
tend to agree with you. There's a question of wage scale, which I'm sure is part of the negotiation process here. And we know from the class and comp study that this particular job family, and this particular class, is below market, which is why we have this dynamic going on here. But I'd offer, it's got to be more, it's a two-part process. The wage scale is wrong. That is the base reason we have the problem. That's where we need to fix it. Until we get a clear declaration or it gets fixed, what we do here is a Band-Aid for new folks coming on. Totally doesn't address the old folks, and I realize they're, ticked.
Hello. I just wanted to say I do agree with Frank about the step 5. I understand all the reasons why that won't work, but I think that at the very least we could consider hiring everyone at step 3 to start, because we are getting so many of these step advance requests, and we know that is the reason why, one of the reasons at least. And I just wanted to especially come up here to talk about the volunteer experience, and I feel like that is probably a shame to not consider it, at least, especially for, say, a stay-at-home parent who has been volunteering in a classroom where there is supervision by a teacher and they've been doing it for years, to not get any credit for that when they're finally making it back into the workforce. I think that's not very considerate. And I know personally, not that I volunteered in a classroom, but for all the volunteer work that I do, if I were now looking for a step advance and I couldn't claim any of that as a part-time employee, I would be kind of irritated. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Very reasonable comment. I certainly would be open to, 50% for internship, 25% for volunteer, something like that. I don't know.
I would not. I think volunteerism certainly tips the balance in favor of someone who brings it, who doesn't. There's just a certain amount of rigor you got to put to the process, okay? And I think volunteerism, internship is hard enough, and volunteerism is just really hard to know.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, being a volunteer is just not the same as being an employee of any organization, and that would be of concern to me. As far as Mr. Hernandez's, and you've brought that up, on multiple occasions, and I think I've had the same feeling. That my feeling is that that's a matter of collective bargaining, and that this commission cannot simply say, okay, everybody gets step 5. That's just basically giving all new hires a raise, which I think is collective bargaining. And the other aspect is one of fairness, that, and that's why I look at these step advances, fairly carefully, because I'm concerned about current employees. I'm concerned about an employee who's at step 3 or step 4 and has been working, started at step 1, has been working for the district for 3-4 years, and isn't at step 5, and now a brand new employee whose background we see on paper, but we don't know that much about it, all of a sudden gets to leapfrog everybody else. There's a fairness issue there that concerns me, which is why we do look at these fairly carefully.
I think I would also add, I believe it is a collective bargaining issue also, and it's a tough one, right? And it's exactly why, not to put too fine a point on it, but, as a commission, we're not, this is not a perfect way, for us to handle this. But it works in partnership, with the labor partner negotiations to fix the part that we really can't fix, which I think is your point.
I agree, I think, about, with the comment about step 3, I think starting, if we could just say, okay, we're going to start everyone at step 3, that would make our job easier, and it would also help with recruitment. There would be the question of, okay, for all the people we've onboarded over the past 2 years who started at 1 or 2, what happens with them? And just in terms of a process question, if we did want to do that or move towards considering that, would that be something we just do here? Would we talk to the board about it? Because it could also be a thing where we make a recommendation, we try and put something on the board's agenda saying, hey, we're going to recommend that you all do this, start people at step 3 and engage the union to discuss what to do with incumbents.
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just looking at how the merit roll is written, it does say that an accelerated hiring rate may be set with the approval of the board and the commission. So it would be something that would have to, at least how it reads to me, would have to go through the board and then later to the commission for approval. If we were going to just start, recruiting even at that accelerated hiring rate.
It's something we should expect, though, is that this is not the only job class that has this issue.
Certainly.
So, right behind it will come bus drivers, computer technicians.
ITs.
We've got half a dozen.
The after-school,
ITs.
yeah.
So, it is certainly something we could cue to the board. My guess is it wouldn't be popular.
Given the budget environment also,
Right, because what we know already, frankly, last year, there was a structural gap that was several $1 million. We went through a lot of gyrations. At the end of the day, we ended it with still a $1 million gap that is being managed just day-to-day OpEx, I guess, probably in terms of vacancy rate, because that's how most organizations manage to that. And we know this year there will be that same problem. Yeah. And this is exactly why we have this effort to dismantle the commission. We spend their money, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's attention, I get it. It's not their money, it's our money. It's all our money. We're spending it in a way that we think is wise to bring good quality candidates for headcount positions that are in the staffing plan.
That they approve.
That there is a different tension that the staffing plan has a standing vacancy rate, is not something we're involved in. Yeah. But I recognize its attention.
So all that discussion being said, does anyone have any language they would like to consider adding to the document?
I have two things maybe that should happen here. One is this look-back period question, because I'm continually confused by this.
The 6 months.
Well, except I see in this set here, we have people who exceed 6 months, and I don't know if I'm looking at a typo or I'm looking at something that is asking me to reconsider the 6 months.
So Aaron and I spoke about it earlier, and there was one person who, can you explain? You have a better grasp than I do.
Yes, so there's only one, is it because there's a candidate that?
There's a candidate from August of 2025, there's a candidate from May of 2025, and I assume there's a typo that says January 2025, and you meant 2026.
Oh, yeah.
And I forget who belongs to which, it's in my notes
Okay.
here.
There-
But I counted 3.
So the candidate from August, we received the request within the 6 months because, as you know, these are coming, these are requests that were made maybe even over a month ago. They just didn't meet the deadlines to make it to the meeting. There is one candidate that started a week or two before the end of school. And so in that particular case, because it was a 10-month position and then the candidate went straight into the summer, and then we got the request last month, we are letting them slip in because...
If you are on Zoom, can you please mute yourself? We're getting some audio.
The summer months. But we're still sticking to the 6 months.
All right, so what we should do is certainly add something here that says we toll summer months.
Yes.
Okay, so
Or
that
10-month employees.
when something like that happens.
Yes.
We make clear.
I agree.
That we toll for, winter break or summer months or.
Just-
think
just
we have-
summer.
Yeah, we in our discussion, we didn't think we needed to toll for winter break, but definitely for summer. And I think it's appropriate to include that language.
for it all.
Well, then do we want to toll for winter break? I mean, staff had some concern about
Gonna
just...
have to start counting more dates, but the reason we let this one through is because they really did start like 2 weeks before summer. And so, yes, and so, a lot of employees aren't even set up with
Emails.
Emails and notifications, and they're not on the listservs. So, by winter, they're fully, they're alerted and notified.
I think what I would say is we're we are in an era of tight money. I think we need to explain everything we do, and we need to document why we do it.
Yeah.
So my vote is toll everything. Yeah, let's put in language that says that we do it.
Sarah and then Frank.
I just was thinking that if we explained in the document that it was, perhaps we could use the probation date for 10-month employees, because then they would not be counting the summers if they had the same situation where it was the end, they got hired in the end of May and they were only working a couple days and then they were off for the summer. So the probation period for 10-month employees should clear that up.
That's a great suggestion.
That's a really good, we could say that the request has to come in within their probationary period.
For 10 months.
And for a 10-month employee, the probationary period is 6 months?
No.
It's 10 months.
It's going to be from the date they started to the date that they complete the 6-month probationary period, which doesn't count the summer.
It counts
Amount of
worked
days,
time.
right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Worked time.
6 worked months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. And that was your suggestion?
That was my suggestion.
Great minds, great minds. Commissioner Roder.
One question I did want to clarify, and that is, because there was either last year or even the year before, there were some questions about it, and I think, again, Frank brought it up, employees who say, I didn't know. And I'm sympathetic to that. And I think we requested that the onboarding letter specifically say that, A, you have the right to ask for a step increase, and here's how you do it, contact our executive director, et cetera, and B, that it be done, and now we're saying before the end of your probationary period. And I just want to be sure that those onboarding letters do in fact say that.
That is why we're getting so many now, because HR has, I mean, minus the probationary period, but as far as contacting the Personnel Commission, yes, that has been included.
Okay, good. Good.
It's part of onboarding.
So I think in this rubric, we ought to note that, that your hire letters indicate this stuff. We've talked about the look-back period. I think probably the other thing we ought to articulate more clearly is that people who ask for a step increase really don't understand how we calculate it, even if we try to explain it. So they make their best guess, they ask for something, and then we do our overlay and we come up with a different answer. And sometimes the answer is more step increase, and sometimes the answer is less step increase. So we just ought to articulate that, we go by our calculation. We understand they're asking for something, it's their best estimate. Our calculation is what we go with.
Well, I'm not sure I know what you're saying, Heidi, although I think I do. And basically, it's that issue that I've been abstaining on, that someone asks for a lower class step, and then we give them the higher step. I continue to believe that that's improper. And I think that there are potentially, and all of this is speculation. We don't really know because everybody's situation is different. But I think that there are some principled reasons why someone who on paper might look like they have all this experience, but they're looking at it themselves and they say, well, sure, it looks like I've worked in this position for 4 years, but I know who I'm working with, especially since we're talking about, until their probationary period. Someone might say, I know who I'm working with, and they've got a lot more experience than I do, and they're at step 3. Because what I did, on paper it looks really great, but in fact, it wasn't so great. So they may actually ask for a step 3 in a principled sort of way. And so for us, as well as the fact that I do believe that it's potentially a gift of public funds when they've asked for a step 3 and we, out of the goodness of our hearts, give them a step 5, doesn't seem appropriate.
I don't disagree that that's possible. I think that it's fundamentally unfair to ask people whose job it is not, these folks' job is not HR. And I don't think it's fair to ask them to make this kind of an analysis and then punish them when they make a fair effort to do it, and we see that they've made a mistake. And I mean, we even heard, I think last month or the month before, we heard from someone, we asked her, why did you request the step that you requested? And she said, I didn't want to ask for too much and I wanted to ask for something I think I could get. And so I think that it's certainly possible what you're saying. I think the vast majority of the time, it's going to be folks either not understanding the math. I don't understand the math all the time, so I certainly forgive them that. Or just trying to be cautious. And I think we're far better off, because also I think if looking over this form here, it doesn't say they need to make a request of a number, right? All this says is the hiring shall be the first step. An accelerated hiring rate may be set. Right? It doesn't say they need to ask for a number and then whatever. I don't think that we should be asking them to indicate a number as a mandatory part of the process. And so we can say, if we will now analyze your steps, your experience and education and place you at a step. If you believe you have a step you would like to indicate, you may indicate it. But if not, we will make the analysis.
May I? I think that's fair. And I just feel obliged to clarify. We're not doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. We're doing it against rigor, and we're doing it against a rubric. And the reason there are wage discrepancies that are entrenched in this country, 72 cents to the dollar for women, less for people of color, is exactly this dynamic. Because there are folks who look around and say, oh, I'm outclassed, I shouldn't ask. This is why we have an equity problem.
Part of
and
it.
Us overlaying something like this is how we try to fix something like that. So
well,
I think it's important.
I think Chairperson Alpert's suggestion is the best one, where we're just not going to ask them what step are you asking for. Aaron will calculate the appropriate step, present it to us, and yay or nay.
Right. And if they want to dispute it, certainly they
And
can.
they
That's
can
why we have this
dispute it,
process.
sure.
If they think they're getting too low or too high, certainly they can dispute either way.
That sounds like something we could do when we send them the confirmation that we've received that we are aware that they're interested in asking for step advance. We can let them know that they can just ask for it, and then the director will make a recommendation and the commission will approve it.
And we wouldn't have to change anything about this, because the
No.
form that we produce, we can modify that form.
Right.
Yeah.
We would just eliminate them circling
circle.
which step they want. Yeah, that seems...
That's right.
And then we should certainly also then inform them that, we're going to recommend a number, or that staff will recommend a number to the commission, and that if they feel that the number should be different, that they can represent that at the commission meeting.
Right. They can attend the meeting.
Yeah.
So no consent items then
Or all consent items, unless someone comes to dispute it.
Well, I think we were going to discuss that.
So the second, well, first let's close out. Other than adding the language about
The internship,
well, no,
or the,
Which, the
And the
look-back
part-
period?
the look-back period, we were going to clarify that it's the probation period for summer.
Worked probation.
For the-
Work probation period. Do we have language about the directly related experience and calculating that you wanted to suggest?
I'm going to suggest something different than what you want, so I think you should
How about
suggest
the word
it.
paid?
I mean, I think certainly what step for every year of directly paid experience, and then I don't know that we want, my feeling would be, let's not define it further, and then we can, through practice and consensus.
Well, one thing we could say is, at the discretion of the executive director, partial credit for internship experience.
I think that's great. What about one step for every year of directly related paid experience, not exceeding 4 steps, at the
Discretion.
the discretion of the executive director, partial credit may be given for other forms of experience, or for, I don't know,
Internships.
I'd be specific.
Yeah, I'd be
Okay,
specific.
I really feel strongly about volunteer not being included.
How are you going to get, sorry?
Go
If
ahead.
you get partial credits and say they only have a 0.5 of only partial credit for like one internship, then you're at 4.5, then what do you do?
then you go to 4. You go to the lower, I mean.
no, just round up or round down.
Well, I would-
And that's already something
We
that
kind of
is
do
really
that already.
challenging, but it's like a judgment call,
Yeah.
It's, there's so many scenarios and we can't define all of them.
Right.
And we don't want to make this like ERISA law, where it is so
What law?
prescribed. ERISA law.
Oh,
When you have employee benefit
Yeah, yeah.
programs, there's
So you said
law.
harissa law like the spice.
No,
I didn't know there was
not
law.
harissa, right. No, it's not spicy law, it's really awful. And we want to be careful about discretionary, because, folks come back and say, well, you gave credit for this
Yeah.
internship, but you didn't give credit for my internship. I mean, I'm just throwing the caution flag. I wouldn't do it often. I really wouldn't.
So then one step for every year of directly related paid experience, not exceeding 4 steps. The executive director may in their discretion award partial credit for internships. And do we want to say anything about like for like in terms of part-time employment? And a credit shall be awarded for employment based on proportional to the number of,
Yeah, you could just say proportional credit may be
awarded for part-time
awarded
employment.
for part-time employment.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Is that all captured?
Can you please repeat that last sentence?
No. Partial credit may be awarded.
Proportional.
Proportional credit may be awarded, thank you, for part-time work.
Part-time employment, yeah. Great.
I have another question, since we brought this up.
No.
Totally unrelated to what we've been talking about, regarding education and the step that you get for education. Just tell me if I'm right. Am I right that it's education over and above the minimum qualification?
That was my understanding.
Yes.
Yes. I think we probably should say that.
I thought it was already in there, so if it's not, we should.
I don't think it is. It just says, education qualification, one step not to exceed of the number of degrees.
Education qualification for one step, or education qualification exceeding minimum criteria
Yeah.
for one step. I think that's right.
You know, the question of, related to the minimum quals of the position, we have an example here where we did not give credit for a BA in history, and we did give credit for a BA in biology for two people who were applying for the same special ed.
Was I here?
It's tonight.
It's
not?
tonight, yeah,
Oh.
no, it's in here, it's in this
Show out.
package.
Well, we'll talk about
You
it.
know, and I'll ask about it later.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I think I'd be careful. You know,
And I
on
want
that
to
one.
clarify with some of those, I didn't, it's not that I didn't mean to give credit, but they were already receiving 4. I just didn't add it because I didn't want that number to go over 4. So, but we could discuss it as we go. Yeah.
But yes, I agree, adding exceeding minimum.
Okay.
So in under advanced step request evaluation criteria, number 1, education qualification, it would read education qualification exceeding minimum criteria for one step. Are we all clear on what we're asking for?
I think so.
And I think we need a motion with the balance.
Okay.
Can I hear back, please, what you've got?
It's going to be a lot of stuff.
There will be a test at the end.
Education requirement, education qualification exceeding minimum criteria. And we have something about, I don't know where it's going to go yet, but about they must apply before their 6-month probation period is over. And then under experience, we're adding the word paid after directly paid experience. At the discretion of the executive director, partial credit may be given for an internship. Proportional credit may be awarded for part-time work.
And then I think we had something about putting in here that it was in the packet. Someone had mentioned wanting to have it in the document that notification is being provided. In the
Oh,
packet.
right, that we also just note somewhere in this rubric that, you know, consistent with our onboarding practices, employees are notified of their right to request, you know, a step increase at the time of hire.
Looking at my colleagues, are we all?
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, so moved.
Second.
And I agree. And I appreciate the robust discussion with members of the board and staff and union. So that brings us then to an internal procedural question, which is, now that we have a significantly larger number of step advance requests, do we want to consider putting some of them on consent? And I know that Commissioner Roeder has generally not wanted to do that. In crafting the agenda with Aaron, what I did was have us order them so that the first 4, so I wrote it down. Oh yes, D through G are all ones where the person requested a step and Aaron found that the step was the one that was appropriate. So the step they asked is the step they're being given. Then H, I, and J are ones where the step being given is higher than what they requested. And then K, L, and M are ones where the step being given is lower than what they requested. So that's why I had suggested originally that we move D through G to consent.
I think I agree with Commissioner Roeder that we actually ought to talk about them one by each. You know, until there is a CBA solution for the range that is paid for this, and based on everything else we've talked about, you know, reviewing qualifications and maybe having to inquire a little more deeply about internships and things like that, I think the better part of diligence is we do them one by each.
All righty? Go ahead.
Well, I'm now going to disagree with myself, and that is that I think for purposes of this agenda, we should stick with our practice. But now that going forward, we have eliminated my concern, which is giving somebody a step advance that's higher than what they ask for us, because they're not going to be asking for anything. I think that putting it on consent is okay, but it does need to be a separate, it needs to be part of our consent calendar, number one. But number two, we always have the ability as commissioners, and even an employee or the union or anybody else can come in and say, we'd like to talk about a particular item. Because whatever has been calculated is too low, or for whatever other reason, or we might think it's too high. It could be pulled from consent. So going forward, I actually think some of them can be put on consent.
And I'm hoping that with the added information that is included in these flyers, that it makes it a little more transparent even, where I came to my recommendation, and I'll keep improving on that as we go and kind of trying to figure out what you all want to see. But, it would make it easier to include some of these in the consent, just because, there's a lot of hours spent into each one. And some of them are very obvious. And so the only thing is, are we saying then potentially that they would all be in consent?
I think that my feeling is they should all go on
Since
consent.
they're not requesting now anything, so we can't distinguish.
I think my feeling would be they should all go on consent. I think that when we send them an email, my understanding is you send them a notification of your decision before it comes to us, right? That you say, hey, I've come to this decision, here's the... So
that's been a little different because we're getting so many now, and since I'm working on such tight deadlines, I reach out to those where I'm recommending something lower than what they requested, and then the rest receive the notification in the form of the agenda. And I believe, Sarah always confirms when they submit the documents that we will be taking this to the meeting with the recommendation. So we could formalize a process where before I publish the agenda, I send out an email to everybody and letting them know, and if they'd like to come and speak to it, they can. That was going to be my suggestion, which is that if we're moving to this scenario where they're not requesting something specifically, I think it'd be appropriate for us to let them know, by email, thank you for requesting this, here's the evaluation that we did, here's my analysis. If you feel that you should want to dispute this, please let us know, right? And then if they dispute it, I think if they dispute it in advance, it should come off of consent. Yeah. Right? Certainly. And then, of course, someone always, as Commissioner Order said, anyone has the right to remove it from consent at the meeting, even if there hasn't been a dispute in advance. So, Frank and then Commissioner Goldstein.
Yeah, that was my concern. If you're taking the numbers off, where I could circle the number, and I disagree, I want to have that chance to... Absolutely. So if they have the opportunity to take it off the consent, then I think that would be fine. The other thing I would suggest, if you're putting them at 5, then why can't you just group the 5 in consent? Or did you guys talk about that? No? I'm sorry. Huh? No. I'm sorry. I didn't mean everybody at 5. Okay, that's what If you have 10 people and 5 of them are at, you're recommending 5, I get the joke. I'm a little slow. And you recommend 5, then those should probably go on consent, right? Because there's no argument. Nobody's going to say, well, I want 3. I don't want 5. Commissioners might feel that it's too high. I think but your point is well taken. I think that we should be putting them on consent unless there's an objection from them, and then we can always remove them from consent if there's an objection at the meeting. I agree. I don't know.
I think no other comments.
All right. So it sounds like we have a consensus, but not for this meeting, starting for next meeting. Assuming that, I don't know if it would be for next meeting or the meeting after though, because the next meeting, will they be using the criteria we just adopted, or will they still be using the form that we've already put out?
I don't know if we've got...
One out for the next meetings.
But we could always send them an updated information. Great. Yeah, we haven't received anything back yet, I don't think. No.
That being said, and thank you to all the members of the public for your generous patience. As you see, we have lots to discuss. We will now turn to our first actual step advance request, which is from Konas Van Dyke, IA SPED. Are they present in the room or on Zoom? Then why don't we start with Aaron, and then we'll turn to their comment.
Okay, so this item is a request for approval of an advanced step placement for, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Onelia Konas Van Dyke in her new position as an IA2 SPED. Ms. Konas Van Dyke brings almost 2 years of relevant experience supporting students and individuals with behavioral and special needs in school and in care settings. So I'm requesting approval of advanced step placement at step 3.
And that is what she had requested as well. Ma'am, if you'd like to give comment, now is the opportunity. Or sir, excuse me.
It is, ma'am. I'm just using my husband's.
Oh. whatever it is.
Yeah. I agree.
Great. Well then, you can say however much or little as you'd like. If commissioners have any questions for the applicant, then now's the time.
I just wanted to clarify my experience. I have been in the BUSD environment, but as a contractor. So I've already been in this position with the experience and things like that, but I have officially become BUSD recently. So I think I have a fair amount of experience. I have a 12-year-old daughter that has special needs, and I've been front and center for all IEPs, all meetings. She's actually the reason why I got into this this business. I was with her for 2 years of school during the COVID shutdown. I did second grade all over again because there was no specialized teachers. So I learned everything that I needed to learn to perfect my craft.
Well, thank you so much for joining the district. We always love to hear about our contractors joining as full-time employees, not full-time, but full-fledged employees, and we look forward to having you for many years. Commissioner Roeder?
I agree 100% with what Chairperson Alpert just said. Welcome to the district, and yes, we're very happy to have you on board as a regular employee. I, for one, will concur with our executive director's recommendation.
Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
And I agree. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll turn to our next item, which is for G. Garcia, IA SPED 2.
Yes, so this is also an approval for an advanced step placement for Gio in his new position as also an IA2 SPED. Mr. Garcia brings more than 3 years of experience supporting students with disabilities in both school and community-based settings, along with relevant education and certification. So I'm requesting approval of an advanced step placement at step 5.
And is Gio with us in person or on Zoom? Not seeing them, so are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
None from me.
Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
And I agree. Next is step advance request for our Lim Senior Human Resources Technician.
So this is an advanced step placement for Raina Lim in her new position as a senior HR tech. Ms. Lim brings over 4 years of solid experience in HR operations, compensation analysis, and data analysis that exceed the entry-level expectations for this position. This position has been difficult to fill, with candidates declining offers and some turnover requiring multiple recruitment efforts. So approving an advanced step placement helps us to maintain and retain someone with the advanced HR skill set that this role requires. So I'm requesting a step advanced placement at step 5.
And is Ms. Lim available in person or on Zoom? In that case, is there a comment?
I do have a question about when they started, which I don't see here.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was in January? January? Yeah.
Just this,
Yes.
now, this
Yes.
January?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
January 2026.
Right.
Alrighty.
I'll move we adopt the executive director's recommendation.
And I'll second.
And I agree. We'll turn to EVO, Instructional Assistant 2 SPED.
Yes, an advanced step request from Emily Vo. Ms. Vo brings over 6 years of experience supporting students in K-12 settings and has been performing the same role at John Muir Elementary School through an agency. She will continue supporting the same students as she transitions into a district position. And so given the ongoing recruitment challenges with the IA2 SPED, I'm recommending request at step 5. Request.
And is Ms. Vo here?
Hello, yes, I am here.
Go ahead if you'd like to make any comment. Now's your opportunity.
Yeah, sure, thank you. I've been working at John Muir for a little over a year and a half now. I initially started the role as a contractor and later transitioned to working directly with the district, and has allowed me to work with the same students consistently for the past year and a half. I work both during the school day and in the After School Bears program, currently supporting about 4 students. And over the past several years, I've had experience in different settings such as mentoring, teaching, assisting with children across different age groups like K through 12. And I also have a bachelor's degree in cognitive science and also in math and science education, which helps me approach child development and learning with an educational background.
Also, I see that you are a fellow Bear. Go Bears, so thank you for that as well.
Yeah. Go Bears.
Any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
I have one, and I'm glad you're on, Emily, so you can explain it yourself. In your resume, I see a seasonal site manager entry between June of 2021 up to July of 2022. Was that full-time work?
It was in the full-time for the summer, so I would work 40 hours a week for about 3 months, I believe, across those 2 years.
Okay, so you worked, sort of June through August of 2021 and June and July of 2022, is that fair?
Yes.
All right, so I think we overcounted this one. I don't know if it changes your math, Erin, but...
Possibly. Yeah, because I wasn't sure if it was part-time work. So, if it's 3... Gonna have to take a little more time to calculate this one. So it was 4 total months, was it, full-time?
2.5.
Sorry.
Well, no, I thought I heard 5. It sounded like maybe 3 over 2021. Emily, is that right? June, July, August? Did we lose her?
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then in 2022, was it 3 months or 2 months?
Checked it. I believe it was 2 months. It was a shorter term.
All right. So what I get is 32 months and a year. I'm taking the 8 months off of your very first entry. 8 and 8 is 16, 4 is 20, another 7 is 27, another 5 is 32, right? 32 months plus 1 year. So I think I get 3 years of work experience and 1 credit for diploma. I don't think it changes your placement.
Yeah,
I would
that's
go
right.
with the 5. Yeah.
That's still,
Okay.
still 4 years.
All right, well, that being said, is there any further comment or a motion?
No, I'll move to approve again the executive director's recommendation.
I'll second.
And I agree. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now turn to Jay Donaldson, IA SPED 2.
So this is also an advanced step placement request for Jamie, I believe, or Jaime, I'm not sure, as an IA2 SPED. Jaime brings over 4 years of experience working in special ed settings and supporting individuals with disabilities. Jamie's background includes behavior support and direct collaboration with instructional teams. And so given the ongoing challenges of recruitment for IA2, I'm recommending step placement at step 5.
And are they here with us in person or on Zoom? If you'd like to give comment, go ahead and come up to the podium.
Is it Jamie or Heidi?
It's Jamie.
Jamie, got it, sorry.
Sorry. So I'm here to represent myself in a step advancement request as a SPED IA. Though I'm a new hire, I have 1.5 years experience in specifically an educational classroom setting, and 4+ years in care with children with disabilities. I've also been working in Nikki Castro's integrated preschool classroom at Franklin since October, but I was with a contracting agency. And I've been affirmed by both my certified teacher and my fellow classified colleagues that I continue to prove my integral role on our team. And for this reason, I believe that I am a strong candidate for step advancement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And would you like to as well? Go ahead.
I'd like to say working in preschool, SPED preschool, jobs.
Can I ask, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Donna Grethen, and I am Jamie's coworker. I've been with Nikki Castro for 10 years in our SPED classrooms, preschool classrooms. And being in a SPED preschool classroom is like being dropped from a plane and running. And Jamie has done a fantastic job from day one with us, so he deserves every raise he's getting. Thank you very much.
Thank you both very much for attending. So this is one where the recommendation for step is different than the request. The request was at 2, the recommendation is at 5. So I will turn it over to my colleagues. Any questions or comments?
I don't think so.
Well,
No,
out of curiosity more than anything else, since what we've been talking about, maybe since Jamie is here, I'd be interested in knowing, why did you pick step 2?
Because I thought I wouldn't get higher than that.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, just in terms of the resume, it sounded like there was about 2 years of experience in the classroom setting, but then additional years in a non-classroom setting, but with children with disabilities. And so that gets to the point we had been talking about what exactly is, directly relevant, right? And so if, we're asking people to make an evaluation about direct relevance.
And can I add, we have had other agency people in our classroom who no longer have much experience that stand around and look like they need a lot of supervision. Who are more open to things? When Timmy started classroom, we did the first day in and our teacher came to me and said, I have some supervisors.
Awesome.
So it was just about the benefits or anything like that. We just knowing that the community is not to fill. And he was so appropriate with our kids and so good at following the schedule, moving around the classroom to see if I have to use here, I have to use here. We have 5 very intense students in the classroom, nonverbal students. Jamie is able to move between all of the students without any distractions.
That's wonderful. For those on Zoom who cannot hear, our guest from the district is describing the wonderful behavior of Jamie in the classroom, so we appreciate it. Well, thank you very much.
I bet.
Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
And I will second.
I abstain.
All righty. That takes us, thank you very much for being here and your patience. That takes us to I, which is H. Fawcett, instructional IA SPED 2.
So this is an approval for an advanced step placement for Helen Fawcett as an IA2 SPED. Ms. Fawcett brings over 4 years of experience supporting students with special needs in public and in private educational settings, and relevant academic background in psychology and child development. So I'm requesting approval of an advanced step placement at step 5.
And is Ms. Fawcett available online or in person? Alrighty. In that case, are there questions or comments on the item?
Not for me.
Nope.
Is there a motion?
I'll move.
And I will second.
Abstain.
Alrighty. That'll take us to Jay Huang, Evaluation and Assessment Analyst.
So this item is a request for approval and advanced step placement for Jelly. Yay. In his new position as an evaluation and assessment analyst, Jelly holds a master's degree in applied data science and brings over 6 years of specialized data analytics experience that directly aligns with the role's needs. This position has actually been hard to fill and keep staffed, with recent incumbents leaving for private sector opportunities, often citing that it's related to compensation. So approving an advanced step placement helps us stay competitive, and I'm requesting an advanced step approval at step 5.
Would you like to give comment?
Well, it's actually pretty fascinating to see this kind of level of like transparency, because I don't get that a lot from the private sector. So it's actually very eye-opening, and I enjoy the whole process. Like, I don't get involved in this a lot. So, yeah, and thank you so much for having me up. My name is Jolly Huang, and I'm the new Evaluation and Assessment Analyst for the BUSD. I waited for 2 months to apply because I was too caught up with the onboarding process and also the learning the new systems. So yeah, but I think this 2 months gives me a really good understanding of my role. I guess in a sentence, it's just helping bridge the student data with the educators. That is very similar to the line of work I do before. In my prior work, I transformed complex data from very fragmented databases into a centralized database and generate reports for clients in utility sectors. They are like engineers or planners. But I see there's no different in my current role. So I kind of I've been like already applying some of the techniques and approaches to my current role, generating data tools to identify special education students who qualify for DBOS exams. So helping teachers to identify those, and also like polling data for demographic assessment data. Yeah, I feel like it's very aligned with my professional goal, and it's very aligned with the skills I have learned over the years. So I enjoy working here, and yeah, thank you so much for the consideration.
Thank you. I have a question, which is you had requested an advanced step placement at step 3, but you have between 6 and 9 years of experience. Can I ask why step 3?
I have no idea how the rubric works. I have no idea. So just want to be on the cautious side. I put a number in the middle.
Very understandable. As you can see, we've been discussing the rationale of why people request which steps.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure there's like a clear map behind it. I should do more research.
No. We thank you for being here and for making your request. Any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
I'll just make a comment. I see you're very deep in predictive analytics, and I think that's great.
Thank you.
And I think BUSD could make good use of that. And I actually hope they put you to work on some of the budget stuff, above and beyond student stuff, because
I would definitely want to work with that.
we need predictive help on the budget. No, it's your background is super. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
No questions.
I'll move.
I'll second.
And what we're moving is actually for placement at step 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Great. Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you.
And was that a
That was a yes.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Because I heard his explanation, and it's very compelling.
I appreciate your consistency. That was not sarcastic, by the way.
The hobgoblin of small minds.
Is that a phrase? I've never heard that before. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Next we'll turn the hobgoblin of small minds.
No, Thoreau? Who said it?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's Thoreau. Okay.
You
don't have to look it up. That's all right.
Minds. For later. Okay. Emerson, apparently.
Oh, Emerson.
So now we'll turn to C. Perez, IA Sped 2.
So this one might need to change. So This was an advanced step placement request received from Camille Perez as an IE2 SPED. Ms. Perez brings more than 5 years of volunteer experience supporting students and with disabilities and has demonstrated strong skills in providing individualized student support. I was requesting a step 3 to account for the numerous years of volunteer experience. I think she mentioned in her paperwork that she was doing over 500 hours a year. So I counted those years as 1, and then her education as 1. But I know we discussed volunteering, so that might need to change.
I'm also curious, did she start with the district in 2025, or is that a typo? Should that be 20?
That was 2026.
26.
That's
okay,
typo.
all right, that's what I figured. Okay.
Apologies.
All right.
I don't know if she's here. Oh, that's too bad. So it looks like based on our revised rubric, it would probably be only 1 step for education and...
Right, she just hired on, yeah.
Yeah, so she'd be going up to a step 2.
I will move step 2.
Second. I will vote no. That being said, we will go to item L, which is R. Prussin. I SPED 2.
So this is also an advanced step request received by Rena Prussin as an IA2 SPED. Ms. Prussin brings specialized safety, medical, and emergency response experience that also goes above the entry-level expectations for this for the IA2 position. Due to the difficulty in recruiting for this role, I'm requesting a step advance at step 4. And I believe Ms. Prussin is here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. It's nice to meet all of you. Thank you for giving me your time to talk and see everybody. I have been with this BUSD school district for about 3 years now, but 2 of those years have been 2.5 safety officer. Going between King Middle School and Berkeley High, which has been really amazing experience. I also got to work alongside a lot of the SPED students, which got me more interested in working one-on-one with SPED students. So now I've become permanent SPED 2 at John Muir, and it's been a really amazing experience. I really love it, and that is why I'm here today, to want to see if I can get an increase, but also get better understanding of how to work with these students and make sure I can be the bridge between school and home and helping progress these students in whichever way they can and be a better person in general. I think a lot of my background as well as an EMT also plays into this role as becoming, and as well as I'm an EMT, so if anything were to happen, I could be on site as well as help if anything. Hopefully nothing happens, but having the knowledge to act if I need to. I also have a fire science degree, 2 years degree for that, which has been a really great experience. I work at a site in Oakland for the Fire Training Academy. I also train academy cadets from Merit with a lot of the chiefs, which is also a great experience, helping students at different ages. But pretty much I've, since a young age, been helping students kind of in that education category, helping them and being the bridge to better themselves as well as better myself. So this is a great opportunity, and I would really appreciate this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I believe I went for step 5. I'm not sure if that was just a mistype or...
Yes, so you had requested a step 5. Our staff make an evaluation based on your years of experience in education to place you somewhere on the schedule, and they found that you met step 4. So the recommendation currently is for a step 4, but that is also what we're about to discuss.
I'd like to hear your opportunity and your suggestions.
Absolutely. I had a question. If she was a sub position within BUSD prior, that doesn't make it, even though it's 6 months from when she was hired into this current position, that she has the opportunity?
No, I mean, yeah, like,
To make the step advance request.
Right.
Even though she was with BUSD previously, it's the new job.
it's as the new, yeah, and it's in a different position as well.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So as you can see on the table, I made my recommendation based on the years of experience, and I didn't count the volunteer work. But the safety officer work, I do realize that she listed April, but I know, like with our subs, that they don't work in the summer, and I don't think it was consistent full-time work, because I did go back some timesheets even, just to check if it was always full-time work, and I didn't see that. So that's why I recommended a step 1, and then 1 year for the internship, and then 1 year for her education.
So I'm glad that you're on with us, so we can ask you a couple questions, Rena, about the California Conservation Corps work. And you probably heard us talk about intern, how we want to treat intern. What isn't clear to me, I'm looking at the attachment in our packet, attachment L, which is your resume. And I'm just not really clear. It looks like you were working on environmental projects, and I can't tell you were, the age of the folks you were working with, if you were leading something or you were part of the crew. Can you help us understand a little better what that engagement was?
So the California Conservation Corps is a group corps that works with the community to, we work also with the fire district. So we do a lot of plant reservations. We help extract a lot of like invasive properties, plants, all the good stuff. So we go out to sites. We also go out to fire hazards where there's huge fires, and we go and support them with whatever needs they need to be done, whether that be digging line, cutting line, invasive removal, tools, feeding the crews, and much more.
And from what I understand, you're working with youth, like what age typically?
So from, I want to say 16 to 18. We also go out and help with the other schools within the community and explain to them the importance of fire safety as well as invasive plants and, feeding natural plants into the environment, which is great. So the kids can kind of get an understanding of how that helps the community as well as the nature around them.
This is so interesting. I mean, I'm looking at this, and I think apropos to this work, I would not count this. For IT before and after school, this is killer. Rena, I think you should look at some of our other positions, not like I'm trying to make life difficult in the IA space, but I think there's a better role for you here at BUSD in the future. But what I would recommend is 2 steps based on what I'm...
So that would be 1 step for the...
Safety officer?
Safety officer, and then another for the emergency medical.
Correct.
Okay.
So a placement at 3.
Oh, is that a placement at 3?
Yes.
Because right now there's a placement at 4, but one of the years is based on the California Conversation.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right. I agree with that.
I agree as well.
All right, so I'm going to move step placement at step 3.
I'll second.
I agree.
Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and thank you for being at BUSD.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to T. Warner.
So this is a request from Tequila Warner as an IA2 SPED. Ms. Warner brings relevant experience supporting students with disabilities in both school and community settings. I'm requesting a step approval at step 3.
It looks like she didn't circle one of the, so she didn't make a request for a specific number of years?
I think she wrote it in.
She confirmed with me via email, and I was meant to put it on the form, and I forgot to. I apologize.
What was her request?
I think, step 4.
4, okay.
Well, it looks like she actually requested step 5. I'm looking at her letter. I would like to take this opportunity to request step 5 on the salary schedule.
Oh, yeah. I know it was higher than what I was recommending, so I believe it was.
Maybe it was step 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Is she present with us on Zoom? All right, and then the recommendation is for a step 2.
No, step 3.
Or, yes, excuse me, 2 steps, step 3. Important distinction. Are there any questions or comments on that placement?
So I'm trying to understand a few things here. Yes.
Please.
One is, remind me what the promotional cadence is, because this is someone who's been here long enough. Is she up for promotion in July?
Oh, you mean
just regular salary?
Oh, the
promotion
salary
is not the
increase.
right word, right? Salary or step review.
So, based on when she started, I believe she's going up in June. Wouldn't it be June if she started in May?
I could, give me 1 minute and I can figure that out.
Yeah, there's like a cutoff for stepping up. It either happens in January or in July. June. I know. Is
Okay.
Malika in the room?
Right. So, I think we are not looking at the current experience, right? The current BUSD, right? Because she's in step 1, as a new hire, if you will. So I'm looking at the row health, right?
Yeah, I did look at the BUSD, the 6 months. I did count those.
Yeah, I think we're counting twice with that.
That would be things that are counted towards getting a regular step increase.
Right. Yeah. So I think for this one, the row health looks reasonable, but I think it puts us at step 2. And what we know is if she is on the cadence to be looked at again in June, that is going to move her to step 3.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to make sure I'm not
June
sabotaging.
would be the latest.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're not sabotaging, sort of the standard
It
process.
still wouldn't sabotage it, yeah, because.
No, I agree.
Right.
I mean, it either counts towards your normal step increase, or it counts towards your advanced step increase. It can't count to both.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true.
All right, so everybody's nodding, so should I motion?
Yes, please.
All right, I'm going to motion that we do the placement at step 2.
Step 2.
I second.
And I agree.
Okay.
All right, that is the last one of our step increases, and that now would take us back up to B, up to 8 for minimum qualifications for IA speds.
It's going to take 2 minutes.
Do we want to take a captioner break too?
Maybe we take a little.
Let's take 10, 5. 5. We'll take 5 minutes. All right, thank you all for that brief intermission. We'll turn to, let me get my agenda back up, our discussion, or update to minimum qualifications for IA speds 2 on page 34. Let me get there. Executive Director.
So this is a request to update the minimum qualifications for the IA2 SPED class. So the proposed changes address the recruitment challenges that we've had by broadening the experience requirement to include 1 year of experience working with students in an organized setting, so not just students with special needs, and then also including experience working with individuals with special needs. So we believe this will help expand the qualified candidate pool without lowering the standards for the position. Besides that, the SPED competencies are still assessed through our screening and testing process. A lot of our SPED candidates are participating in training outside of BUSD. For example, the Para Educator Institute held by Alameda County. So these updates will also reflect the negotiated salary changes that took place, as well as the state requirements now that replaces No Child Left Behind with Every Student Succeeds Act. And those are the only changes that we're proposing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So let me just make sure I understand this. The second clause that you're changing, or individuals with special needs, that was not previously in the job description or the minimum qualification, right?
That was actually a suggestion of mine. So the change was just going to be eliminating the with special needs in reference to students.
Right.
So that it was work with any students, whether they were with special needs or not.
Right.
And my suggestion was, well, if they're working with people with special needs outside of an educational setting, that's still relevant experience.
I see. As a minimum qualification, I mean, we are trying to recruit people in 1 year working with special needs. Okay, I understand.
I'm curious to know what the union thinks. Union's giving us
We got thumbs up.
Okay. I'm okay with this. I think it's fine.
And it still goes into, they still go into the rankings, right? You know, once we have enough that we can actually.
Right. No, there's more that we evaluate, yes.
Yeah. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion?
I move approval.
And I'll second.
And I concur. So that completes the balance of our conference items. We'll now turn to our second public comment period. Are there any members of the public in person or online who'd like to give comment? If you're online, please go ahead and raise your hand. Seeing none, we will turn to our next meeting. Our next meeting, the next regularly scheduled meeting of the commission
It's the 25th, right?
would be the
I think we changed that date.
February 25th at 4:30?
Let's see.
Oh, I'm so.
Oh, yes, I
tired.
see PC hold I have on my calendar.
All right, hang on. So we decided Thursday, the 26th?
Thursday, the 26th at 4 o'clock, not 4:30? 4:30. At 4:30 still, okay.
Back on Parker.
At Parker.
At Parker.
All right, Parker Street.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
That being said, I will move that we adjourn, and I'd like us to, if there's agreement, adjourn in memory of the 2 individuals who've been killed by ICE in Minnesota.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, is there any objection? If not, the motion carries. Very good, thank you all.
Thank you.
Well-run meeting. Thank you.